they treat it as if it's an interrogation.
Right.
They walk in, they sit down, they're asked all these questions, and they don't say anything to win. They don't ask any questions to the very end when the employer says what?
Do you have any questions?
And then they ask something, you know, like the best interviews, and I know I'm kind of getting ahead of it, but I want to give you some concrete tips for interviews. The best interviews are conversations. It's a back and forth. It's a discussion, it's a dialogue.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a date. I mean, in some senses. You know, it should not be one-sided. It is not just them examining you. It's you asking questions about the company, about the culture, about what's going on there. Because remember, you might be offered the position, but you might choose to not accept it. Top 4 questions are, tell me about yourself, interview questions, of course, which we already said is your opportunity not to talk about, you know, how long you've been married or how many kids you have or where you live, but to give them a sense of what do you bring to the table that's going to enhance your professional work and enhance their company. The second question, what are your strengths? So this is about what do you bring to the table that's different? What are your gifts? Remember we talked the difference between skills and strengths. Your work, your job is what you get paid to do, but your work is what you were born to do. Your job is connected to your skills, but your work is connected to your strength, your gift. You can't take someone's gift away from them. So I want you in the interview to be clear on this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm gifted in, this is what I've known to do for as long as I've been alive. I've gotten better at it, I've enhanced it, but these are my strengths. What are your weaknesses? Remember, you don't want to say you don't have weaknesses. Employers want to see that you have a sense of introspection, that you are reflective, and they want to know, how do you view yourself? And the way to answer the question is to talk about something and how you're getting better with it. So the example that I gave was what? Maybe you could talk about, well, I don't know a second language, but I'm learning it. So whenever you talk about the weakness, you're going to talk about something that you aren't as good with, but that you're working to get better with. That's the key. Nothing that's going to be too out there. Also, the point of the weakness is not to paint you in a bad light, but so that way, remember the analogy that I gave, Super Bowl coming up. Employers like coaches. They want to know where do you fit best on the team. So when you talk about what you're good at and what you're not good at, what your strengths are and things that you aren't so strong in, it allows them to see where can you be best positioned in the company. So it's not about downing yourself, it is about saying, look, I'm great at this, but I still need to work on this. So the employer is taking notes of, this is where I can best position this person, so that way they can win and succeed. Last question, why are you the best person for this position? That's really like question number 1. That's your opportunity, again, to rephrase your first, rephrase the time. Yes, the beginning, the middle, the end. The questions may not come in this order. Right. But when you answer your questions, I want you to be thinking in the back of your mind. Every great interview that you do, every great interview is going to answer these 4 questions, even if they're not asked. So one of the questions that people ask me is, well, what if they don't ask me that question? I don't leave it up to a person to ask the question. I will speak on something that I want them to know about. So let's say they never ask, when was the last position that you held where you taught, or when you were a counselor? I don't want to leave it up to them for that. So at some point, I'm going to bring that up. Oh, as a matter of fact, the last position I was in, I did. Now, I want you to write this down. When you are talking about your skills and strengths, you need to be able to connect them to a story. Your skills and your strengths should be connected to a story. What do you want people to know about you? Remember what I said. Great communicators don't use 10,000 words to communicate 10,000 ideas. They use 10,000 words to communicate one idea. What is the idea about you that you want to project? What is it about you that you want them to know? Whatever that is, whatever your personal brand is, or your core central message, that's what needs to continue to be repeated throughout the time that you are interviewing. So I gave the example of counseling. So I might mention, look, I've been in the HIV field for the past 14 years, facilitating HIV awareness classes in your case. And then I'm going to keep hitting that. So if they ask me about my strengths, I'm I want to say, look, I love to teach. This is what I do. As a matter of fact, for over a decade, I've been doing A, B, C, and D. You see what I mean? I'm going back to it. And then if they ask me, well, what are your, why should I hire you for this position? Not just because I have the life experience, because I have the practical experience. I've taught in many different settings. I've taught in institutions. I've taught one-on-one. I've taught curriculum. You see what I mean? So I'm continuing to go back. I'm using that word teach, 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 because I want them to know that's how I want them to identify me with.
That's what I do.
Yes, that's what I do. And you have to decide for yourself, what is your personal brand? What do you want to be known by? So that's the one thing I want you to think about with interviewing. What is my personal brand? Also, I want you to think about, what do I bring to the company? This is important. Now, I'm going to repeat what the man said earlier, and I like what he said in the video that we watched, that impact drives income. Impact drives income. So, what is the impact that I'm going to make? What is the impact I have made in the past, and that I'm going to continue to make here at your company? That needs to get across in the interview. I don't want you to say things like, well, I'm looking for a second chance. People don't give people jobs for a second chance. In fact, I don't think people give people jobs at all. People offer positions. A position is an opportunity to help them succeed. They're not so much concerned about you succeeding for your sake. They want you to succeed for their sake. Do research.
Right.
You should never walk into a company in an interview and not have done research on it.
I always do research on everything.
Always do research.
Everything.
Research allows you to be prepared beforehand. And you really, really want to impress them? I'm going to tell you what you do. You really want to impress them. Print out the company statement.
Show them.
If it's a for-profit company, print out the shareholders report.
Show them that you've been doing research.
There you go.
I know what I'm
Doing
walking
this, I say, look, I noticed that this, I noticed that in your vision statement it says this, so I noticed in the last shareholders report it mentioned this. I don't care what you say after that. You could pick out the most boring sentence in it. The fact you brought that there, they're going to take notice.
Show that.
Do research. Research allows me to have a leg up on the competition. It allows me to know where they're going. So perhaps the company report or even the website tells you, we have 100 employees now, we're looking to have 200 employees by the end of the year. Wow. That says what? This is a place where I can grow.
Right.
This is a place where I can expand, and I'm going to mention that. I noticed your website said that you're looking to double your size of your workforce within the next year. How do you think, where would your team fit in with that? What do you think that looks like for you? Are there going to be more positions added in the field that I'm going for, or is it just in general? I mean, this lets them see, they did some thinking. The next thing, come prepared.
Like, can you start right now? Yes, sir.
Okay, I wasn't even thinking so much about that. This is what I want you to do. Every interview you go on, and I want you to start with the very next interview you go on. Bring a pen, bring something that you can write with, like a composition book, because that shows you taking notes, and bring a book. I was going to say bring a book that you're reading. I'm going to tell you a secret. You don't even have to be reading the book. Just bring it.
I have a book. Right on me right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just letting you know.
I would, now when I say that, I'm bringing it so that way. Can you bring it? Can I see your book that you have? And can I see it? Please? Just
Yes. Or Joel Osteen book.
Did you-
That might work too.
Okay, ISIS inside the
That's a
obvious
good
hair. Okay, I might be careful about ISIS.
Yeah, because you ain't.
No, I'm just saying, this is probably a very good read.
I would
but
read that.
I don't know if I want to make a
Take that
political
on the
statement.
interview.
So let's just,
That's liberation.
So let's just say,
Revolution.
I know he has a military background, but the question is the guy, remember your audience.
Yeah.
You don't know what my religious background, faith background,
Yeah.
background.
I would.
Pretend this isn't ISIS right now.
Can't help it.
When I come in, I'm coming in like this. When I sit down, I might I'm going to put this in my lap. Because I'm going to show you how it is. I'm going to put the book I'm going to take this perhaps and put this here, open this, and I'm ready to take notes as I'm talking. It's something different.
Right.
The point of an interview, one, is not just showing I'm prepared, not just showing I'm the person for the job, but it's something that I stick out a little bit. How many people are going to bring a book?
Yeah.
Very few people do. And I like the fact that you even have something sticking out of it. That is even more convincing than
No, and I'm reading. Yeah.
even if I'm not. Even if I'm not, it says something. And you know what I'm going to do also? When I'm in the interview, I'm going to bring something out of our book that I read. So one of the last books I read was From Good to Great, Jim Collins. And he talked about level 5 leadership in a company. And I believe that's my leadership style.
Nancy Drew.
You see what I'm saying?
Gotta act the part.
It's little things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
There you go, man. That's going to make a big difference. Last thing, let your personality show. A lot of people make this mistake. They go in and they're flat. I'm not saying be goofy. I'm not even saying crack a joke necessarily, because that may not be appropriate. But smile. If you're naturally a jovial person, like you kind of have a person, I can tell you're like a natural joker, that needs to come through in the interview.